This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLisio and Kenny Burgamy.
And with that, we say welcome to the 39th Annual Sunbelt Ag Expo here in Moultrie, Georgia. A beautiful day, as you can see. So glad you decided to join us for another on-location edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Ray DeLisio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. As Ray mentioned, this marks the 39th year for Sunbelt. The first in 1978 featured just over 400 exhibitors. Nowadays, the number's through the roof. Over 1,200 vendors and exhibits. 800 acres of working farmland, an estimated 80,000 people in attendance. It's just incredible. Now, coming up on today's program, we'll hear from one of the key organizers of this year's event, Gina McDonald, the Director of Marketing and Public Relations here at the Expo.
Also on the show, South Carolina and its ag industry. Where do things stand today, a year after that catastrophic event many refer to as the 1,000-year flood? We'll sit down with South Carolina Farm Bureau President Harry Ott to get his perspective of everything and hear how Farm Bureau was there when farmers needed them the most. These stories and so much more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor. Well, of course, one of the many highlights of the expo is the Willie B. Withers Luncheon. That is where Swisher Sweets announces their annual Southeast Farmer of the Year award.
As always, Ray, this year's luncheon brought together many dignitaries from Georgia as well as other states, all with one goal in mind, and that's to honor those who have made an impact on farming and agriculture. Damon Jones has the story.
It was an impressive guest list for the annual Willie B. Withers Luncheon as leaders from both the legislative and agricultural arenas gathered to celebrate and discuss issues that face the state's #1 industry heading into next year.
It's a good time for our leadership to get together, and good to have both senators with us today and the governor and the members of the legislature, but then farm families from all over the Southeast. So we've had good discussions today, and hopefully prospects for a little better 2017.
And one of the U.S. senators in attendance was David Perdue, who made it a priority to meet and greet the farmers in person to show his commitment to the industry.
Well, agriculture is half of our economy, and if you want to grow the economy in Georgia, which we're all working hard to do, you gotta grow ag. And we've had some real trials in ag here just in the last few weeks, and so I wanted to show my support for the cotton growers, peanut growers, pecan growers, everybody in the state.
Another reason for all of these legislative leaders to make an appearance was to get some input on how the government and their policies are being viewed on the farm.
Well, I'm on the Ag Committee, and we've had the Farm Bill now for a year or two, and so we're talking to farmers out here about, and it gives me an opportunity to, in a casual setting, have a conversation about how they're reacting to it.
And, of course, the main event for the luncheon was the naming of this year's Swisher Sweets Sunbelt Expo Southeastern Farmer of the Year. It's a prestigious award that not only recognizes all the good work these farmers do on and off the farm, but also keeps the Sunbelt Expo in the forefront of people's minds year-round.
Farmer of the Year program gives us a grassroots network throughout the 10-state southeastern region. We go to the meetings throughout the years in those states, keep Expo on their minds, and we start the Farmer of the Year process in the spring. They name their winner in June, and then we have the judging tour in August and announce the winner here. And the Farmer of the Year program is one of the cornerstones of Expo.
And this year's winner is David Wilde, a diversified row crop farmer from Arkansas who farms more than 12,000 acres and manages a small beef cattle herd. He was chosen over 9 other finalists from across the region. It's an honor that was both gratifying and unexpected.
Never in my wildest dreams did I feel like we would be chosen to represent agriculture as Farmer of the Year, and it just overwhelms us. We're so happy, and we want to do everything we can to support agriculture industry and tell agriculture's story.
And you can say Wilde was born into the profession as he is a 5th-generation farmer that looks to pass on his legacy to future generations.
Farming's in my blood. My great-grandfather was a farmer, my granddad, my dad, and to come back and be able to farm and then watch my children and the next generation come and embrace farming is something they want to do, and now grandchildren, which are the next generation, showing an interest. It's just doesn't get any better than that.
Reporting from Moultrie, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, David, great job. Now, as far as the 2016 Georgia Farmer of the Year, John McCormick's constant focus on new technology and yearly success with cover crops has earned him high praise and respect amongst his peers. Here now, the story of an incredible man whose first crop was an acre of tobacco in the 9th grade.
At his farm in East Georgia, John McCormick told us overseeing crops on over 1,000 acres keeps him pretty busy.
We actually farm probably 1,000 acres in there, and then we double crop of that 1,000 acres another 250. We grow beans, corn silage, grain corn, peanuts, and soybeans, as well as double crop soybeans. You know, right now we're dry, but you know, we need to be dry with peanut harvest at hand. We could use a little bit more water on the beans to fill them out, but other than that, you know, I'll say we're probably, you know, 25 to 30% down, you know, on, or will be on yield that as opposed to other years.
Johnny is a very progressive farmer. He comes from the old school, but he also grasps the new technology too. Of course, he has done a little bit of it all, been in the cattle operation, hog operation, tobacco operation, and now primarily in just row crops and everything. But he is one that is looking to make the most profit, the most efficient way on his farm.
Well, we roughly cultivate about 1,250 acres here. I have a son who works with me. He's the third child, and he left this job because he wanted to farm.
The average age of our farmer is getting older and older every year, and we need this young generation to come back in and continue to farm, because with the population, the world population exploding, we're going to have to feed them some way in the future.
But we pretty well set up, you know, we have the equipment to do most everything, and another extra hand with my son, it makes it even better. So we like to fish, we like to hunt, you know, we like to tend to grandchildren, so we find time to do all that also.
John said he enjoys sharing the farm with friends and family.
I mean, why did you build another house in there when you moved to Scriven County? I said, well, you know, we got to have a place for my children and my grandchildren to sleep. As you noted earlier, and there are all the rod and reels on the wall, you know, we got 25 acres of fish ponds, so they like to fish, so, you know, that's a benefit to keep them home and, you know, when they come and enjoy it.
And as far as being the 2016 Georgia Farmer of the Year,
award that I didn't think that I was, you know, even qualified to get, but, you know, I'm glad that my peers think enough of me to nominate me, and most of all being selected, you know. So, you know, I wasn't the only deserving one. You know, I'm sure there are many more in there, but I just happened to be the lucky one that got chosen this year.
All right, still to come on this special edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
I'm not sure Farm Bureau could have anticipated all of the ramifications that a flood of that magnitude caused.
South Carolina Farm Bureau President Harry Ott talks about the struggles following the 2015 flood and how Farm Bureau fought for all of its members.
But first, it's time for another incredible recipe lesson with home economist Marcia Crowley. Meals from the Expo with a live audience. That is next when the Georgia Farm Monitor continues from the 39th annual Sunbelt Ag Expo. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Gina McDonald, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing for the Sunbelt Ag Expo. This is my 19th show, and it's kind of interesting because everyone always says, oh, so you only work 3 days a year, which is the best running joke ever. We actually start planning for each year's event at the last day of the previous year's event. So it's a full-time job that takes a lot of work with a very small staff. We do a lot of on-the-ground grassroots networking, which requires travel. But we love what we do, and I think it shows when people come out to visit the show. It's a great job, and we've got a great team. I honestly cannot imagine doing anything else. I'm very, very fortunate that I was actually born and raised in Moultrie, Georgia. And my very first expo I came, it was the very first show, I was in the 4th grade. So I grew up with the expo. And when I got to come back and have the opportunity to work in a job I love, in my hometown, in a event that I love, I was truly, truly fortunate. My friends from high school say, I can't believe you're working at the expo, because we all grew up with it and we always used to come and take the day off and walk around with the yardsticks, and now I'm the person promoting this great, wonderful event in my hometown.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia Farm Monitor and our 2016 Sunbelt Expo special. The roar of the crowd you hear, not for me, no. It's for the one and only Marsha Crowley. So good to see you. Yes, we're back with Meals from the Field, or in this case, Meals from the Expo. Our 4th Meals from the Expo. As mentioned, we've got a great studio, or I should say, live crowd with us. They're very excited. And today, we're doing something I love, pot pies. But it's Marsha Crowley's specialty. Talk about it.
Okay, we're doing a turkey pot pie, and Ray called me like a month ago and said he would like to do a turkey pot pie. So, and it is not easy to find a turkey or chicken pot pie that doesn't it's not too soupy. So I had to test 4 of them to come up with this. I hope you appreciate that.
I always appreciate you.
Right,
and I appreciate that you appreciate me, that you would test 4 pot pies.
Yeah. All right, I've got already sauteing in here 1/4 cup of chopped celery, 1/4 cup of chopped onion, and a teaspoon of minced garlic.
Okay.
I'm going to add to that 1 can of cream of potato soup, and I tried to avoid using a cream of anything soup, but I couldn't do it. Add that to this.
Is there a reason why you want to avoid it?
I just wanted something different, but the cream of potato works. So
okay.
I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. And you're going to add to that 1/2 cup of milk. Kind of saute that around a little bit. Mix it up, and I know we're on a short segment here today, so I'm going to add salt and pepper, a little bit of fresh chopped basil, a cup of peas and carrots, and you can actually buy a bag of frozen peas and carrots if you didn't know that. You don't have to buy a bag of peas and then a bag of carrots. You can buy that. I see the commissioner's with us today.
Yes, got the commissioner in the house.
Stir that up. All you're doing really is combining all this stuff. And to that you're going to add 3 cups of chopped, cooked, leftover turkey or chicken.
Okay. I'll save you time, and we'll stir that a little bit.
Stir that a little bit. We'll move these out of the way.
See, the reason why I stir is it takes the spoon out of her hand so she can't hit me with it.
So I can't hit him with it.
Yes. That's happened.
And this is this recipe is really easy. Like I said, I tried to avoid using a can of cream of anything soup, but the potatoes help thicken it up. It's not too runny. It holds together when you slice it.
Right.
All right, let me turn that off.
Then we pour all that into the pie crust?
Pour all that into here, and I will, you want to pour and I'll hold?
Yeah. All right. So we'll
pour all that into here.
All that in here. Ooh, getting some on the floor.
That's all right. It won't hurt the floor.
All right.
All right, then the other thing that's, let me do that around a little bit. The other thing that I like about this, it's got a 1/2 cup of cheddar cheese that you put on the top before you put the top crust on.
Very nice.
And at this point, you would top it with another crust, and these are store-bought crust, if I didn't tell you that. I don't do homemade pie crust.
Store-bought crust. So
and you're going to top it with the other pie crust, and you're going to bake it at 350 for 30 minutes.
Let's give it up for Marsha Crowley.
And right. And right.
And again, folks, just a reminder, you can find all these delicious recipes by logging on to gfb.org/recipes. Everything is there in detail for you. Marsha, as always, does a good job.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you so much.
See you next month.
Thank you, folks, very much. Kenny, we'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Ray, Marsha, great stuff as always. More from the 2016 Sunbelt Ag Expo is straight ahead. When we come back, a conversation with South Carolina Farm Bureau President Harry Ott. The struggles farmers face following last year's catastrophic flood and how Farm Bureau was there for them every step of the way. The monitor continues from Sunbelt Expo 2016, and we were there as officials from both South Carolina and Georgia helped cut the ribbon to officially kick off this year's event. Folks enjoying the many fine things that South Carolina agriculture has to offer. Just a beautiful display inside the Spotlight State Building. South Carolina Ag Commissioner Hugh Weathers saying he couldn't be more happy with the final product.
We have a very diversified agriculture for being a relatively small state. That's probably the message we want to send to the folks coming through the host state building here, from aquaponics to traditional agriculture to everything in between. In South Carolina, from the coast to the mountains, you see it all, and that's what we want the folks here at the Expo to see.
All right, staying in South Carolina, this time last year, the state was recovering from one of the worst natural disasters it had ever seen. A historic flood that resulted in 19 deaths and thousands upon thousands of farmland being destroyed. Well, recently, I sat down with South Carolina Farm Bureau President Harry Ott to get his take on the flood and where the state's ag industry stands a year later.
2015, arguably one of the worst years ever for South Carolina farmers. First you had the freeze in March, summertime comes, you experience a drought, then in October, 11 trillion gallons of water dumped in this area and dumped on the state. How does one deal with the magnitude of something like that?
Well, you know, I wish I could tell you it was easy, but it was a situation that I don't think any of us were prepared for. I don't think as an individual farmer I was prepared for the flood. I'm not sure Farm Bureau could have anticipated all of the ramifications that a flood of that magnitude caused. The good thing is, however, Farm Bureau was there, and farmers knew that Farm Bureau was going to be there for them, and we were going to be advocating on their behalf to try to help them recover from what we call around here the 1,000-year flood.
Which brings me to my next question. When it was all said and done, I think it was $587 million in losses. What did Farm Bureau do, President Ott, to help these farmers?
Well, you know, I wish I could tell you we were successful on every front, but we were successful in some. Number one, we reached out, made sure that everybody was okay. To our members, and then we went to work on trying to figure out, number one, how much money did we lose, because when you go to government, whether it be state government or the federal government or local government, first thing they want to know are numbers. So we put the best numbers we could. We worked with the South Carolina Department of Agriculture, Hugh Weathers. We worked with Clemson University, the Extension Service. We surveyed our farmers, and we got them to tell us exactly what we lost, what crops were most significantly impacted, where was the most damage. And once we assessed how much we had actually lost, obviously how much was covered by crop insurance. So we took that into account. Unfortunately, we found out about 1/3 of the actual losses were covered by insurance. It's a well-documented fact that we ran into a little bit of a problem with our governor, because most people aren't aware that there are no disaster relief funds in the Farm Bill anymore. So all this money had to be asked for and appropriated and sent to the governor for her distribution, and she decided that agriculture wasn't going to be one of the things that she spent her money on that came from Washington. So we were disappointed, but at the same time we went to our state General Assembly and we lobbied them to see if they could find some state funds to help agriculture. And Chairman of Ways and Means, Brian White, introduced a bill, $40 million that went directly as grants to state farmers. We were very successful, overwhelming support in the House and the Senate. Again, we had to fight off a gubernatorial veto, but we overrode the veto, and we didn't want the bill to be so that anybody made money on the relief bill. So they put a 40% threshold in, so you had to show that you lost 40% of your anticipated income to qualify. And then if you did qualify, you could get up to $100,000. So of the $40 million, I think we distributed between $35 and $36 million directly to South Carolina farmers to help them get over that 1,000-year flood.
You're coming up on your year in office, I guess, so to speak. What are some of the goals that you have in mind, as president of South Carolina Farm Bureau?
Well, what we want to do is expand our tent. We want to make sure that every farmer, every person that is actively engaged in agriculture on whatever level and whatever size knows that South Carolina Farm Bureau is their voice, and we want to give them a voice. There's a big movement, whether you call it urban agriculture, whether you call it specialty crops, whether you call it organic, whether you call it diversified. There are a lot of things going on in agriculture that, to me, as a traditional row crop farmer that's been farming 40 years, these are new ideas. So what we want to do in South Carolina is to reach out to all of these people. We want to embrace organic, we want to embrace specialty crops, and then we want them in turn to embrace traditional agriculture. And we think Farm Bureau is the perfect tent, perfect organization to bring all of these people together, because we know going forward, when you only represent 1 to 1.5% of the population, you need to be growing your membership and reaching out to these emerging markets, and that's what we hope to do in South Carolina.
Yeah, Kenny, and it goes without saying, a huge thank you to President Ott for taking time out of his busy schedule to speak with us. Just an incredible story. Finally today, whether it's crop operations or equipment, Sunbelt is the place where farmers come to see all the latest technology.
Yeah, this year's expo not only featured some improved older technology, but a lot of new innovations as well. Mark Wildman takes a look at one such product that gives farmers the upper hand when it comes to their battle with Mother Nature.
Keeping track of weather is critical to any farming operation, and having vital information can save money and give advance warning in case dangerous weather is approaching. WeatherStem is a company that provides critical data and weather alerts so the public can make smart decisions based on current weather conditions.
Education-wise, we install these systems at schools and other public places and gather weather data from that point, data such as rainfall, rain rate, wind speed and direction, temperature and humidity, and some other sensors as well. And we use that data to help out emergency management groups throughout the state, as well as the schools that feeds a curriculum that teaches you different ways of science and engineering and math.
The company showcased its technology by installing a system at Sunbelt Ag Expo and talked to producers about how this data can benefit their farms.
Well, for farmers, we're real big on water conservation, and everything we can do to help the farmers out is a big deal. Our system specifically monitors moisture at a variety of levels and as well as temperature in the soil. That gives us the ability to take that data and put it on a platform that the farmer can use and go back and use correlating research to find out if it's warmer this year than it was last year, when to water, how much to water. Also, with the rain rate and the rainfall from the weather station, they know how much is naturally coming right there to their location at the farm.
The weather platform not only collects information, but it also incorporates a camera, so you can actually see how the weather was.
End of the day, it adds up all of the pictures that it takes every minute and makes a time-lapse movie. So you can really see the way that the sky is working in the clouds and the different layers and such. So that's also nice whenever you've got the data, because if you're clicking on our website and you see a specific data point that you want to know when the temperature is and the barometric pressure and all of our other readings, you can actually see the picture of the sky to correlate and see what was going on.
If you want more information, just log on to weatherstem.com and see how weather technology right on the farm can benefit your farming operation. Reporting from Spence Field, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Mark, nice job, sir. Well, unfortunately, that is going to wrap up our coverage from Sunbelt Ag Expo 2016. As always, a huge thank you to all the staff here that made our job so easy.
Just a reminder, for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming, and again, here on the Farm Monitor Show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
As always, have a great week.